everybody.
Just come tune in.
So we'll get started. We have kind of a lot to get through in an hour here, and then we still have the room until about 9 o'clock, so we can do networking afterwards. But this is our first ever WIN meetup event, Wilkes-Barre Investors Networking, so thank you very much. Don't judge me too hard, because I've never done this before. But we have two great guest speakers here, our friends and partners, Neil and Robert. They're going to be speaking at the front and back end of this, and then in between, Michael and I will be talking about our journey, why we're doing what we're doing, and how we got into this, basically. So just a quick overview. We're going to show our portfolio. A lot of this has been heavy lifts, and how and why you should get into real estate investing too. So thank you guys very much for taking a couple hours out of your Thursday night. Time's important. It's one of the main reasons we're doing this, for freedom of time. So I really appreciate everybody coming here tonight. Just as a disclaimer, we're going to be talking about taxes, some depreciation. I'm not a tax attorney, I'm not a CPA, so always check with your attorney about that. I have nothing to sell, there's nothing to join or anything like that. This is truly because Michael and I love this, we're very passionate about this. And I hope you get some information out of this. I'm not claiming or pretending to be an expert in real estate. I know there's a lot of people in the room have been doing this for a lot longer than we have a lot more units, but we have done a lot in the 3.5 years that we have been doing this, and we're very passionate about it. So this is a statement I'm sure a lot of people have heard about. Your network is your net worth. It sounds a little cliche, but I totally believe in that. If you're surrounding yourself with people who are not uplifting you, who are thinking you're crazy for trying to get into real estate investing, you're going to be the average of those people. So there's ER doctors here. You should all feel at least safe if anything happens. We got you covered here. There's some agents here. There's a lot of good people here that have a lot to offer you, have different experience in different groups. We have Martin here. He does his own meetup in Stroudsburg area. We met him when we were at starting and didn't even have any of our own properties yet. So again, thanks everybody for coming. This is another statement. You are the sum of the 5 people you spend the most time with. This just goes back to surround yourself with people who are going to lift you up and not bring you down. So I encourage you guys to talk to each other after this, when we're done the presentations again, find out their journey, find out their why, see how you guys can help each other. If there's any partnerships that could come out of this, this is kind of where the magic is made. So just by a quick show of hands, how many here have 1 to 5 units that they own currently? Keep your hands up if you have more than 20. Hands up if you have more than 50, more than 100. Anybody more than 500 join? Yeah, so there's some people that have a lot of units, and I also know that some people in this room, they don't have any yet, and they're here to just learn. So there's a lot of information that I'm going to cover, and it's going to be all the way targeted from people who don't have any properties and they're just looking to get into it, versus other limited partnership positions that you can do in syndication deals when you don't have enough time. So some of our core values, really, I encourage you to think about what your why is. If you do not have a solid why, no matter where you're at in your journey, whether you don't have any units or if you have hundreds of units, you will meet bad times in your real estate investing journey. If you don't have a solid why, you're going to give up. I mean, there's a lot of crappy properties that Michael and I bought that if we didn't have a strong why, we could have thrown our hands up many, many, many times. So my why is my family, my husband. My why is freedom of time and financial freedom. You can always buy more properties, you can always work more shifts at the hospital or anything, but you can't buy back more time. So time is very, very important. Mindset, there's a quote, success is 80% mindset and 20% action. And I completely believe that that's true. If you don't have the right mindset, you're not going to be successful in real estate or anything in your career. If we didn't have the right mindset to be a doctor, we wouldn't have got through 11 plus years of schooling too, right? So our first guest speaker, you're screwing with something, Michael.
Oh, sorry.
You're messing up my flow here. So our first guest speaker is Neil. Neil is somebody we actually met a couple of years ago. He's a phenomenal speaker, phenomenal friend, and one of our business partners in our mastermind too. So Neil, I'll give it over to you here. If you want to use this, you can just click. So you're just going to click this to go to the next slide. All right. Go back. There you go. You want this? You can have this.
I don't need that.
Okay.
How we doing, guys?
How you doing?
I'm doing fantastic. First, I want to start off with a little bit of gratitude. Lindsey and Michael, come on, stand up. Appreciate it. It takes a lot of time, a lot of energy, and a lot of resources to put this together. You don't just make a phone call and all of a sudden it happens. So I am eternally grateful, as I'm sure everybody else is here. Thank you so very much for putting this together. I I want to start off with Earl Nightingale. We become what we think about most of the time. He wrote that back in 1956. He put a record together as a sales training for his team, and it was called The Strangest Secret. It runs about 30 minutes. It's a great listen if you're unfamiliar with it. We really do become what we think about because our thoughts tell us what to focus on. Now, who am I? I'm here to help you. I'm here to add value to you. I've been adding value my entire life. I actually get a high off of helping people. I started out back in the 80s as a volunteer fireman and then an EMT. Then I went to the police department and then I went to the paid fire department. And I spent almost 30 years doing that down in New York City. I got tired of the W-2 grind. I got tired of asking somebody if I can go to my son's football game. Because I was working, I had to ask for time off. And that just started really annoying me. And I searched for something else, and that something else was real estate. And I seeked out a mentor. My mentor was the Jake and Gino community, and Gino gave me a lot more than just multifamily education. He gave me mindset, and I truly believe mindset is a pillar to everything else. It's gonna hold everything else up for you. Because when you hit that leaking pipe at 3 o'clock in the morning on Christmas Eve into Christmas Day, and you have to go address it, your hair is just on fire, and you're just, what am I going to do here? But the mindset of, I'm not here to make cash flow per se, I'm here for my 3 little kids, right? Luca and Eden. That's when you need that mindset to push you through. What are we going to talk about tonight? We're going to talk about the thought process. We're going to talk about awareness and proximity. And then I designed 2 processes. One I call AIR, 3 Steps to Winning, and the second is the 3 Fs. And when you combine those 2 processes, you're going to be able to change your thoughts and how you think. You're going to actually rewire your brain. This is super, super high-level stuff, and we're going to be able to do it right here. You're going to be able to implement this before I even stop speaking. The thought cycle. We have a thought, we invest some faith in that thought, and when you combine that thought plus that faith, you start creating emotion. And I want you to think about a little acorn laying on the forest floor. That acorn sprouts, that's just, we went around the cycle once. That acorn has tiny little roots. Well, those emotions that we're creating are the roots. And as we go around this cycle more and more, we invest more faith, more emotion, more thought, more faith, more emotion. Those roots get bigger and stronger. And that seedling turns into a mighty oak that you can't blow over. The National Science Foundation tells us that we have 50,000 thoughts per day. 80% of those thoughts are negative. 95% are repetitive. 80% are negative. 95% are repetitive. When I first heard that, it shocked me. And I had the thought of, how can I change this? How can I dwindle down and chip away at that 80% negative? Because if I can get that 80% negative to just 70% negative, I have a 10% advantage over everybody else. And that's when I came up with the AIR system. Awareness, interrupt, and replace. We're going to become aware of our thoughts, we're going to interrupt those thoughts, and then we're going to replace the thoughts that don't serve us. So how do we become aware? I use a technique that was designed in the Japanese rail system called Shishikenko. Shishikenko literally means point and call. So in the rail system, they would have a conductor on the platform and say, the left is clear, the right is clear, the platform's clear, the train can go. Because in Japan, they had a lot of accidents and a lot of people getting hurt. When they instituted this, because they slowed things down, they reduced their incidents and their injuries by 85%, almost instantaneously. So I use this every day. If I was using this right now, table, woman, man, baby, ceiling, light. I use it in my car, speed limit, guardrail, white line, exit sign. You can use this anywhere. And what you're doing is you're slowing down. You're coming out of that autopilot. There's a Harvard study out there that says we spend 50% of our day in autopilot. Have you ever been in a blackout? Who's been in a blackout? Who's walked into a room and turned the light on? We're in a blackout. Why are you turning the light on? Right? Who's driven down the highway past 3 exits and didn't even realize they passed the 3 exits? Right? Autopilot again. We're constantly in autopilot. Autopilot's good for some things and bad for others. We want to capture that good autopilot. And that's what this helps us do. As we slow down, we're going to start paying attention to our self-talk and the emotions that arise in that self-talk. And we're going to get a little bit more to that in the 3F process. So now we're aware we have a thought. We interrupt that thought. We literally stop and ask, is this thought serving me? And if it's not, we kick it to the curb. We thank it, literally. Thank you, bro. I really appreciate you looking out for me, but I'm going to choose to pay attention to this. I'm going to choose to focus on this, to think about this. This being the replacement thought. So how do we replace the thought? We turn that original thought 180 degrees. So I can't becomes I can. I don't becomes I do. I'm not becomes I am. And then the golden rule. It's my golden rule. Don't ever beat yourself up, because you're going to be all excited that you just learned this process. And you're going to be like, yeah, I got a process. I'm going to change the way I think. And then 3 hours from now, you're going to realize that you had a thought and you didn't do the process. And you're going to beat yourself up. Oh, man, I'm such an idiot. He taught me this. I don't know what I'm doing. Stop that, because it's all bullshit. What's the first step? Anybody, what's the first step? Awareness. So 3 hours after you have that thought, when you first realize you have that thought, you hit awareness. It doesn't say awareness in the moment. It says awareness. So I want you to picture me running over and giving you a great big high five. A bro hug. Yeah, baby, you did it. You absolutely did it. You hit it out of the park because you started the cycle. You became aware. Run through the cycle now, even though it's 3 hours later. I became aware of the thought. I interrupt the thought. Is it serving me? If it's not, I kick it to the curb and then I replace it. I turn it 180 degrees on its head. Why? Because we're actually physically changing how our mind fires. We're changing the synapse in our mind, and we're telling our mind what to pay attention to. We're not allowing our mind to tell us. We tell our mind. We have the power of choice. Life happens for us. It doesn't happen to us. We get to choose that. And that's what this helps us do. The 3F system. We have an original thought. Now I want you to take a sheet of paper. You don't have to do this now. But you can take a sheet of paper and you take a pen or a magic marker and you just draw a T on it. Look how easy this is, right? I drew a T. That's the T. I write the original thought across the top. Whatever that original thought is. I get this a lot, so that's why I use this in this presentation. It may not apply necessarily to this room, but I get this complaint a lot. I can't make any money. I don't have money. So write that original thought over the top. Pay attention to how that thought makes you feel. Even you that may have $2 million in the bank, pay attention to how that thought makes you feel. And then list some facts down the left-hand side. I live paycheck to paycheck. That could be a fact to some people. You need money to make money. If I don't have any money, how am I going to make money? My bank account literally has $50 in it. I literally don't have money. How does that thought make you feel? How does those facts that you listed make you feel? Can it make you feel sad, frustrated, defeated, even a little angry? Are those emotions serving you? Hell no. So now we do the same thing, except we turn that thought 180 degrees. I don't becomes do. I do have money. Now you're saying to me, well, I live paycheck to paycheck. How do I have money? If you're living paycheck to paycheck, you actually do have money. You're just allocating that money in a certain way. You're choosing to allocate it in a certain way. Right? If you have $50 in your bank account, you have money. Just choose to use it wisely. Anybody know the name Vinny Chopra? He came to this country with $10 in his pocket. He's got millions in assets under management right now. So, I do have money. There's money out there and it's due to me. That's what I want you to concentrate on. My bank account may show $50, but does anybody know how much currency is in circulation right now, right this second? 2.2 trillion. Some of that money's out there. It's floating around. It's just due to me. It didn't come to me yet, but it will. I do have money. I can form partnerships. I literally have a partner that doesn't have a penny in the deal. He brought all the value to the deal, and that's how he got into the deal. But just because you only have $50 in your bank account doesn't mean that you can't form a partnership. Anybody here can form a partnership. That's why we're here. I can raise money. We're in a mastermind, right? Our mentor Marco tells us, I don't raise money, I attract money. First, you have to start raising money. Raising money is when you ask people to come into your deal, right? Attracting money is when people call you and ask if you have an opportunity for them. That's the next level, but we all start with raising money. Don't think you can raise money? I was just on a podcast talking to a guy, 28 years old. His name's Andrew. 28 years old. He's worth $70 million at 28 years old. You know what he brought his first multifamily property? 17 years old. 17 years old, didn't have two nickels to rub together. He went out and raised $300,000 as a 17-year-old. So if he could do it, we all can. I can raise money. I'm sorry, we hit that one already. I can add value to others. Anybody know Brandon Hicks? Does that name sound familiar? Joe Fairless? Joe Fairless sounds familiar. Brandon Hicks is Joe Fairless' right-hand man. Brandon Hicks was sitting in an audience just like this at an event. Joe Fairless made an offhanded comment about needing something involving videos, and he wanted to start getting into videos and putting stuff out. Brandon, not knowing anything about videos, wrote up an entire proposal and said, listen, this is what I can do for you. And then Brandon went out and learned that. And he added value to Joe. I don't know what Brandon's worth now, but Brandon's in the real estate game. He writes books on real estate. He syndicates deals, and he has a lot of doors under his purview. So you do have money. It's just dependent on what lens you're looking through. So when you know you have money, when you know you can form partnerships and you can attract money and you can add value to others and get in on deals, how does that make you feel? Relieved, hopeful, excited, driven? Maybe even a little bit determined. I'm going to do this. Is that serving you now? Are those emotions serving you? Are those emotions lifting you up? Are those emotions putting wind in your sail? Let's talk about proximity is power. I took this. I have these signs all over my office. Signs just like this to remind me of different stories. Proximity simply means to be in nearness to. That's what we all are right now. Not only am I in nearness to Lindsey and Michael, or to Martin, or to Billy, but I actually have access to their networks. And I don't even know the person. Because if I need an insurance agent, I can go to Martin and say, listen, Martin, I need this insurance agent. Do you have anybody? Martin actually gave me an attorney in Pennsylvania. Do you have an attorney? Yeah, I got a guy. I didn't even know that guy, but I knew Martin, and Martin made that introduction. So, be in proximity of like-minded people. That's how Lindsey started it off. I'm gonna give you 3 icebreakers because nobody wants to walk up to somebody and say hello. 3 icebreakers. Hey, what'd you think about that mindset guy? Was he out of his mind? Do you really think we could change our thoughts? Right? Second one. How do you know Lindsey and Michael? That's easy, right? Third one. Robert is going to come up and talk about apartment buildings later on. What'd you think about Robert's presentation? You know, I'm a flipper, but I've been thinking about apartments. What'd you think about that presentation? What resonated with you? And what's going to happen is you're going to see, like, when you walk up to somebody and use one of those lines, they're going to know exactly what you're doing, and they're going to smirk a little bit. So I want to see how many guys can get giggles out of how many people here. Build your network, because it really is your net worth. I can pick up my phone, I can make 1 phone call, and I can get an answer to anything real estate related, because I have those people around me. I'm going to leave you with this. If you think you can or you think you can't, you're right. I only ask you this. What side do you fall on? Do you think you can? Or do you think you can't? And where do you want to be? Guys, I really had a great time here. I hope you got a lot of value out of this. You can reach out to me, neil@neilschoepp.com. That's me directly. There's no assistant there. It's me. You talk to me. I do YouTube videos. I'm on Facebook, Neil Schoepp. If I can add value to you, that's what I'm here for. Come see me. I'm going to be hanging out. I hope you guys get a lot of value out of this. Thank you. Who's up next?
Thanks. Back to me.
No pressure, no diamonds. That's true.
Thank you, Neil. Every time you talk, so I get something out of that. You also, the Henry Ford line is one of my favorites.
I love that
You beat
line.
me to it. Yeah. Whether you think
I've
you
said
can
that
or
so many
you can't,
times.
It's true.
My kids go crazy. Like, Dad, not again.
It's such a good quote. I love that one. All right, so now we're going to get back to Michael and I, our journey, how we got started. So for those of you who don't know me in the room, I know over half of you here personally, but for those I don't, I'm Dr. Lindsey Duguet. I'm a practicing emergency medicine physician. I did my undergrad at Penn State. I did my medical school down in Philadelphia. That's actually where I met my husband, business partner, Michael. You want to say hi?
Hi, everybody.
He was here on an international work contract, working for SKF as a mechanical engineer. Actually, his former boss is here, so if it wasn't for this guy, I wouldn't even have this husband, so thank you. So when I met him, Michael was this fancy French guy driving like a Z4, barely knew how to change a light bulb. We had no idea that we were going to get into real estate someday, but he was very much focused on men fashion. He still has this website, still diversification. We use this for passive income. It's pretty much on autopilot now. But he quit his engineering job when we had our first kid, and now he's full-time real estate professional status for our business. He's really the underwriting master, does all the asset management. I find these deals that are pretty crappy, give them to Michael and say, hey, fix it up, make it cash flow for us. So I'm working at Geisinger here, which the hospital is really close. I'm more the front end though. I like the networking, the business relationships. I set up the calls and say, hey Michael, we have a networking event on Zoom in an hour. He never would do a networking event like this on his own. So I like to talk to people. I like to get out and do this kind of stuff. I do had been doing the direct mail campaigns, finding the deals, funding the deals, negotiating it down. Now I'm working more with broker relationships because we're focused on much more bigger apartment buildings and not so much the fix and flips that we had been doing at the beginning when we started 3.5 years ago. So we met 9 years ago, like I said, in Philadelphia. Second date, he taught me how to make French crepes. I like the accent, and here we are. We got married 6 years ago. We just had our 6-year wedding anniversary last week. We had our first little baby, Luca, in January 2017. Then we had our daughter, September 2018. We had our third and last little guy exactly 9 months ago. He just had his 9-month birthday. He just learned how to crawl 2 weeks ago, so we're like very busy picking up the little pieces off the floor. So how do we get started in the first place? When I was in residency, I had started off with this is an actual screenshot from my loans when I started before they were paid off, $231,000 in student debt. We were completely in debt. We had no assets related to our name. We hadn't bought our first house or anything like that. When you factor in the amount of hours versus my salary, I was working literally 80 hours a week for less than minimum wage at the hospital as a doctor. So we don't always make money. So we figured, how are we going to get out of this debt column, and how are we gonna start getting assets? Because what I had, that $231,000, that was in the liability column. It was a student loan. There was nothing giving me money back. Liabilities are things that you owe money. They're coming out of your bank account and decreasing your cash balance. Credit card debt, your personal home, people think your mortgage is an asset. It's actually in the liability column. Car loans. What are assets? Things that are putting money into your bank account. Stocks. Maybe not everybody's stocks right now. It's one of the reasons I like real estate. But bonds, real estate investing. These are things that, if done right, that's putting money into your bank account. We want to shift from liabilities over to the asset column. So Michael actually was the one that kind of spearheaded our real estate journey. He read, how many people have read this book in the room? Rich Dad Poor Dad. In the real estate world, we call it the little purple Bible on real estate investing. It's really a gateway book for a lot of people. It's a mindset book. If you don't have your first property and you're here to get into it, I strongly encourage that you read or listen to this book. So he said, hey, read it. If you think it makes sense and we maybe want to try real estate investing, let's go for it. I read it, it clicked, huge light bulb went off in my head. So 2019, we were thinking this is going to be our education year. Maybe we'll buy our first property in 2020, but I'm the person that when I set my mind to something, it's going to get done. So I immediately signed us up for this real estate investing event. It was in Scranton here. It was 3-day intensive training, more focused toward the fix and flips, wholesaling, how to work with agents, how to get money to buy these little properties and then resell them. But it was good. It got us in the mindset of liabilities, how to leverage things. There's good and bad leverage. It's a tool. You can use it for good or bad. So one of the things they said is go to meetups like this. We went to a local meetup. There's one guy, Steve, actually, you were at that first meetup when we went out at Perkins. So I met another investor there. He had 22 units. His wife was a physician, and in my mind, I thought, oh my God, he got 22 units in 5 years. This sounds amazing. It's like a pipe dream. Spoiler alert, we got 22 units or 22 in the first year and a half. But he basically said he had some properties in Shenandoah, Pennsylvania. For those local, they know Shenandoah is not the best place to be investing. But we ended up getting this as a real check. We had given him $5,000. We got 2 single-family homes for $2,500 each. We bought them sight unseen. We thought, oh cool, we're real estate investors now. We own 2 properties. Let's go see what we bought. Well, we walked in and there were literal, like, this is a kid, the squatters. This is how they were living. This is after we started cleaning up. The pipes had been cut. You tried to be getting these people out of the house. There were literal urine bottles spread throughout this house. We were like, we just learned on this 3-day intensive training that we were gonna get these beautiful properties. Like, what the hell did we just get ourselves into? So again, our why are we doing this? So we could have given up here. A lot of people would have. So we said, you know what, we're gonna find a local contractor. We're gonna get these places cleaned up. So us being naive and trusting, we found a local contractor, gave him a couple $1,000 up front. Don't do that. He got the squatters out. He started cleaning up, but he stole a couple $1,000s and left town. He was a professional con man, I guess you would say. He found another guy that was local in town. He actually had us sign the check in his partner's name. So now we had this guy on the hook and said, look, we're gonna take you to court unless you finish the project that we had signed for. So over the next couple of months, he actually did, fix these properties up. We still own these properties. I mean, we went from this to this. They're very nice now. They are ironically some of our best cash flowing properties to date. This is one of our other units or houses that he had sold us. So what these are called are Class D properties. Class D, I do not suggest that you buy in these type of towns. You will have drugs on the street. You will have abandoned buildings on the street. There's crime. These are not good locations. Then you go all the way up to Class A. Class C, they're definitely still working class. There's a lot of CapEx, a lot of things that you have to remodel in the houses. Then you go to Class B. Us and our partners, we're really targeting Class B to C. Up until Class A. These are the new builds, the nicest neighborhoods. There's very low cap rates on them because there's not a whole lot to do. But this is really where the value add is. So don't go buy those Shenandoah properties. We didn't learn it first. We got another duplex in Shenandoah. This is the only one that we got on the MLS. It was $20,000. Again, I bought it sight unseen. But this was actually light rehab. So this was the duplex we got. I actually don't have before pictures, but really it was just kind of painting, changing the floors, upgrading the kitchens. There were no squatters on this one, thank God. But we still have this one too. After we had rehabbed it, we got it stabilized, we went to the bank and we said, hey, we have this in our own names now, let's get a mortgage on this and get some money out of it. A lot of banks, things are changing a little bit, but most banks will give 75% loan to value on properties, which is what we did. So who has read the Burr book? This is another huge one. We're gonna raffle this one off at the end of the event. This is one of the top 5 books of all the hundreds I've read in real estate investing. I love this book. So we went to the bank, we refinanced. They gave us all of our money back on these properties. So we had put a certain amount in, we got everything back. We still own the properties. We are still having the tenants pay down our mortgage. We're still getting cash flow on these properties. They're still appreciating, maybe not so much in Shenandoah, but the rest of our properties. And we're still getting tax benefits on this. And then you have all that money pulled out that you can go and do it again into another deal. So I'm not gonna go through these, and it's a big scary slide, but basically, net operating income, it's what you have after all of your expenses are paid, not including mortgage. Cash flow, that includes when mortgage is paid off. So we're buying on cash flow. Cash flow is what we're getting after everything is paid off. Every property we have is cash flowing us, and this is in addition to everything else that we're getting on the depreciation aspect and everything like that. So just a leverage example for a cash on cash definition. If you have $100,000 that you want to invest, say you find a duplex and then you buy that duplex for $100,000 cash. You have no mortgage, but you still have to pay insurance, taxes, that kind of stuff. So minus $300, but each tenant is giving you $500. So you're getting a $1,000 check minus the $300 expenses. You're getting $700 a month. Times 12 divided by your initial investment. This is your cash on cash, 8.4%. But say you want to leverage that and you're going to use that $100,000 and take out a traditional mortgage, which is about 20% down. So you're gonna put 20% down, you still have the same amount of expenses, now you have a mortgage, plus you get the same payment, so now you're at $278 a month. Divide that by your initial, your cash on cash is higher, 16.2%. But you still have $80,000 that you can still invest. So you can get 5 more properties, so instead of one duplex for $100,000, you can get 5, 20% down. So now, instead of going from $700 cash flow, you're going to $1,350 from those 5 properties. You have 5 times the appreciation, 5 times the tax benefits, which are huge. You're diversifying, so say your duplex burns down, you have no more cash flow. Say one person stops paying rent, you're down to 50% of your cash flow. But if you have 10 properties, 2 times 5 the duplex, you're diversifying a lot more. So we had bird these initial properties in Shenandoah, now we had 4 units. So we made a website, Duguet Estates, we upgraded our business cards, and on our Duguet Estates website, we had this portal where sellers could come, input their information, and we could give them essentially a cash offer. So this is at Harvey's Lake, PA, which is a much nicer area than Shenandoah. We had a retired guy in Florida who had this lake house that he basically said, look, I'm not coming back to Pennsylvania, it's fully furnished, I don't want it, give me an offer. So we bought, these are real pictures of how we walked in, he gave us the lockbox number, the house was great, fully furnished, move-in ready. We bought it for $126,000. The only CapEx that we did not even CapEx, the only thing we did to this property was take the 3-bedroom carpets out and put some hardwood floors in. We went to the bank without doing anything other than changing those floors. It appraised at $260,000. We doubled our equity in it by doing nothing because we bought right. So we got a HELOC out on this property, so now we had more money to invest in other properties. Again, just pictures from that single family lake house. So then we bought 2 more lake houses also at Harvey's Lake. This was from Off Market, another investor who was also a real estate agent. We met her through a networking event, so these events are actually key. This is the only one that we're still actually undergoing rehab. Every single other property that we have has been done other than our JV. So these were pictures. This was a gut job. We basically reframed everything and we have it rented now. We obviously have the same gray-white color scheme that we use throughout everything. It's cash flowing great. Once we finish the other one, we will do another burr on that one to pull out more money. So after that, we decided we're going to do a direct mail campaign. We use Prop Finder. I know we were just talking to you guys, you use Prop Stream. This is very similar to PropStream, but we pay $50 a month. This is a screenshot of what you can do. You can filter down for anything. If you're into fix and flips, you can target pre-foreclosure people. The first direct mail campaign that we did, I was targeting 1 to 4 units. 1 to 4 unit is still considered single family, 5 and above is considered commercial. So I went for, it was owned in their own name, so not in LLC, they weren't doing it right. They had owned it for at least 10 years and they had 80% or to full equity in it. So essentially mom and pop type people. A New York investor reached out to us and said, hey, we have this place in Ashley, not far from here. It's a 4 unit, it's a pretty big building, like 4,100 square feet or something like that, right? They're 3 bedroom, 1 bath each, and usually when we get these direct mail campaigns back, I handwrite the letters, and then we say, okay, what are you getting rented for? Let's drive by it. Ideally, we could walk through it, and then we'll give an offer. This guy was a New Yorker, very persistent. He's like, just throw a number out at me, throw a number out. So I said, fine, $20,000. He's like, okay, sold. I was like, shit, that was way too easy. What did we just buy? Well, we bought something really bad. Again, there was like grass growing in these units, a complete disarray. Signs of squatters, no live ones this time, but there were like cigarettes and you could tell somebody had been squatting there. So the place was absolutely falling apart. Mold, it was terrible. Over the next 6 months, we actually got a contractor team, rehabbed it. I love this property. Like, I would live there if Michael divorced me and I had to go somewhere. Like, this is a very nice property now. So we rehabbed all the units. They are wonderful now. They're all fully rented. Actually, behind here, we put in an extra bathroom. So 2 of the units now are 2 bath place. They look great. What we did this summer, we did another burr on this property. We went to the bank. So again, we bought it for 20. Reno was 150. The bank paid most of this renovation too, which is another thing that you can do. So this was not all cash out of our pocket. And then it appraised at 275. So we got 118% of our money back out of it. We have infinite returns on this property. In addition, we're still cash flowing $1,500 a month, almost $400 per unit on this property, where we now have all of our money out on. It's phenomenal. So we got a $90,000 check on this. Another thing, whether this is single family homes you're burring or commercial like our syndication deals, these checks that you get on refinance, they're tax free. You're not taxed on them. It's amazing. So then I did a commercial direct mail campaign. This was a 10 unit that we got from this little guy, Chuck. He's a great guy. But 8 of the 10 units were rented. 2 of them were essentially gut job rehabs. They were being used as storage units. I negotiated a lot with this guy. There's somebody who didn't show up tonight, but when we bought this, he was going to be one of our partners. At the last minute, he got cold feet. We're actually very happy about that, because when you see this burr, we didn't owe anybody else any money. So 2 of the units were storage units. We fixed them up. Again, very similar concept to all the other places. We're going from this to this. So people see the end result and they say, oh my God, they're just pulling out, a $300,000 check. They're lucky. We're not lucky. This takes fucking work, right? Like, this is not easy, right? So the units look great now. These were the 2 rehab ones. They look wonderful. So one of the things that and this was the other ones, so 8 of the 10 were rented. He had owned this for like 20 years. He took care of it, but he really didn't do any type of upgrading to the units. They were rented out for $500 to $525. Now we, take these outdated ones, and now we're renting them for $1,000. So we're doubling the income. Again, kitchens dated. We upgraded everything. Living rooms dated. We upgraded living rooms dark drabby. Everything's nice and updated now. One of the things we ran into at the beginning, I was doing a lot of moonlighting in the hospital. Every single moonlighting shift has gone into buying these properties initially. So we ran out of money and capital to actually get the good contractor teams at the beginning. Because of that, my poor Michael had to do a lot of the rehabs himself. I mean, he went from this fancy French guy, couldn't change a light bulb, to he's digging sewer and changing sewer pipes in Shenandoah. Not once, but twice. I told my parents, if I go missing, I'm in a hole in Shenandoah. So, I mean, thank God he's an engineer. He's dedicated, determined. A lot of YouTube videos, a lot of stuff later. He's done a lot of the rehabs himself on our properties. But one of the points of this is get the teams at the beginning so you don't have to be digging sewer pipes like Michael. So our 10 unit, one of the main things we did at the beginning, this was actually a safety issue. This was absolutely falling apart, the porch in the back, and it was the entrance point to 2 of the main buildings. So we got a contractor. He said, we'll fix it for $45,000. We said, no, thank you. Michael started calling around. We used the contractors from the city of Wilkes-Barre, so we know they're going to be up to code. They did it for $8,000. So again, shop around. $8,000 versus $45,000. The porch looks great now. So we just, last month, actually we closed very recently on this. We did another burr on this. We bought it for $250,000. Reno $140,000. Again, bank paid for a lot of this reno, so this is not all cash on it. We bought this December 2020, so we only held it for 20 months. It just appraised at almost $800,000. We got a tax-free check, $310,000 on this property. Infinite returns, 275% cash out. Again, this is not easy. You see this end result picture and you think, wow, it's, they're lucky, it's easy. It's not at all. We reached a point last year where we're like, okay, we're hitting a ceiling, we're doing a lot, but we're doing everything ourselves. It can get lonely when you get the bad tenant calls and we're just like yelling at each other at the end of the day. So we thought, how are we going to do this, do it better, accelerate? We had a 5-year goal that I wanted to have enough passive income to replace my physician salary, which is not small. In 5 years, we're 3 years into this, we're on our way, but we really realized we can't do this the way we want to. So I started looking into more bigger syndication type books, working with partners, and leveraging their time and knowledge instead of me just reading all the books myself. So we got into this mastermind group. This is not a sell for the mastermind. You have to be actively investing in everything. There's essentially criteria to get into it. But we joined this group. There's multiple people in this group with us here. It has been life-changing for us. We officially signed up in the spring. We're going to networking events in Florida, New York. We're constantly doing networking events online. I'm signing us up for 3 to 5 networking Zoom calls every single week. We're doing meetups like this. If it wasn't for this group, I never would have pictured myself setting up a PowerPoint slide, booking and paying for a room, paying for food, and doing this for nothing in it for me other than I love real estate. I want to teach people. I think this is so exciting, and there's other ways besides working at the hospital that you can get money. So I am literally now talking with the direct people who are writing the books, the people who own these skyscrapers and everything, and it's all because of this group and networking. So again, I mentioned time is very important to me. I'm very busy. I'm a full-time physician. I have 3 little kids. I have other hobbies. I love to do painting, artwork. I'm a Peloton addict. If I don't do my bike once a day, or at least every other day, I get cranky. So there's a lot of other things that I like to do. So using other people's time and knowledge has really, really helped me to accelerate our business. And I really encourage everybody here at the end of this event to continue talking to each other. You never know what partnerships might be made. Through this group, we formed some partnerships. We did our first JV, which is a joint venture deal. It's a smaller amount of people. We closed this in June in Indianapolis, Indiana. We are essentially doing a borough on this one too, just on a bigger scale. This is when we bought it, these apartment units. 2 of them have been rehabbed to date. They were rented out $1,000. They're now rented out for $1,500. There's another 6 units as of right now today that are undergoing rehabs. We expect to do a refi in this in about 18 months and pull all of our money back out on this one too. And that was our first partnership deal. We're also working on a syndication deal. We're closing in 2 weeks on a 110 unit in South Carolina. We did some capital raising for that. Robert's one of the other GPs on this deal. So we're working on much bigger deals at this point. So we've read a lot of books, listened to a lot of books. We've done a lot of education on this. So now we're really at the point where there's a quote in the Bible, not to get all religious, but to whom much has been given, much is expected. I have been given a lot of opportunities, and I feel it's my duty to help educate other people. You know, a lot of physicians were very stock heavy because that's what everybody else is doing. Nobody taught me how to invest. Like, my dad's actually here. My dad and my mom, they didn't even go to college. Nobody taught me this in high school. Nobody taught me this in college, residency, medical school, anything like this. So this is really self-taught, but now I'm around other people who are really helping to accelerate this. So people say, well, why don't you like stocks? Everything you say is real estate. That's not true. I have stocks. This is my real 401 accounts. I, every single year, max out my 401. I max out my 457. I max out my 403. Again, guys, this is diversification, okay? Every single year, I dollar cost average every month for 529 accounts, which are stocks accounts for my kids. I have a self-directed Vanguard account too. Again, I dollar cost average. I'm not dumb. I realize that real estate can be risky too, especially if you're not doing what you're doing correctly. But real estate is making me money. My stocks have not been paying me dividends. My stocks are not going to get me to financial freedom whatsoever. This is real screenshots just from 8/31 last Friday. One day, this was based from the 30th to the 31st, stocks are down. 1 week, stocks are down. 1 month, stocks are down. 6 months, stocks are down. So it's not that I don't like stocks. I am diversified, but real estate is what's making us money. Real estate is a real asset. I control it. My partners control it. If we don't like the numbers, we will do some type of forced appreciation to change these numbers so that they are working for us. Stocks are really fake paper assets. You don't know the company, what they're doing to fake their profit margins. Stocks can swing on one political statement made by somebody in a day. That doesn't happen with real estate, right? So this is why we're into real estate. Now, the next statement I've been hearing from a lot of people is, oh, we're in a bubble. It's not the right time to invest in real estate investing. Things go in cycles. I did not personally go through the real estate crash of 2008. There's some people in this room that did. But Warren Buffett, arguably one of the best investors of all time, this is a very famous quote, be fearful when others are greedy, be greedy when others are fearful. We did not buy a whole lot last year. We had been doing the direct mail campaigns. We got some great deals 2 years ago. Last year, not so much. So now people, the interest rates are starting to go up. People are getting scared and they're thinking this isn't the right time to invest. I'm actually very excited right now. This is the time where we're gonna start to make some more money. So I am hoping things crash because this is where you're gonna get that value add where you're buying right and you're not buying for retail. You don't wanna buy for retail. That's like 101 that we even learned way back at that initial 3-day event, right? So for anybody in this room that thinks, okay, that's all well and good, you're a doctor, you have money, this is easy for you to say. This is a very good book for you to read. It's called The Richest Man in Babylon. It basically talks about how you need to pay yourself first. 10% of every paycheck you get should be paid to yourself. Thank you. Sorry, I got too excited there. So there's always ways to decrease your cost of living. There's always ways to do that. So read that book. And then for anybody else in the room, Think and Grow Rich, has anybody read this book? I've read it 4 times. I love this book. It's phenomenal. Thank you. All right, good job. See, he cleans up my messes that I buy and make for him. So this is a really good book. Anybody should read that. So I encourage you to. And this is where I was going to say about the quote with Henry Ford that Neil already beat me to. Whether you think you can or you think you can't, you're right. If you think that you don't have money, you think you can't buy your first deal, you're not going to. If you think you can and you find a way, you will. You can be successful with the right mindset. So then active versus passive investing, which is right for you. So you saw Michael digging the sewer pipes. Some of you are thinking, I don't want to do that. I mean, I don't either. That's why he's the one that has to do this. But other people are thinking, well, I have a really busy W-2, but I do have some money, so I like the idea of real estate investing, but I don't want to be doing the work. Great, there's the passive route. So what's active versus passive? Active investors, they are in syndication deals, the general partners, that's what Robert, myself, and Michael are on with the South Carolina deal, the sponsor, the syndicator. The GPs are the ones that are using their experience, their relationships, their past deals to underwrite, find the properties, negotiate, and buy them. While the limited partners, because you have to have that 25% down to actually buy the properties, they're the ones that are helping to provide the capital to actually buy the asset. Then, after you buy it, the GPs, they're the ones that are stabilizing the property, doing the rehabs, dealing with the contractors, doing all the CapEx, providing the value add. While the LPs, they're sitting back, they're not dealing with any of those calls, but they're getting a stabilized returned income check, whether that's monthly, whether that's quarterly, depending on the type of deal. They don't have to do anything. They're getting their money back at the refinance, then they're getting usually at least double their money back at the end of the hold period. That's why you still need to know those terms that I put up initially, like the EM, the equity multiply. If it's EM2, that means you're getting double your money back. If you put in $100,000, you're gonna get $200,000 back. The GPs, they're the ones managing the property, dealing with the 10 calls. LPs, you just get to sit back, relax, get your paycheck while you still hold equity after the refinance. So Michael and I, even ourselves, we realized we can't do everything, so we have ourselves invested as an LP in several deals this year as well, because we like to get the stable checks, but we still like some of the active part too. So our mentor Marco, he talks about the GP LP mindset, and really ideally you should be trying to do both. So just if you're going to do any syndications, you'll hear this term, what's an accredited investor? Just real quick, an accredited investor by definition is somebody who makes $200,000 a year individually for 2 years or $300,000 as a couple. It's not anything you have to sign up for. If you make that, you are by definition in the SEC, Security Exchange Commission, an accredited investor. Or you have $100 million, not including your primary residence, you're an accredited investor. So then 506C versus 506B. 506B, you can have, you have to have a pre-existing relationship. So either you met somebody at a meetup, it's your mom, your friends, something like that. You can have up to 35 non-accredited investors versus 506C. They're all accredited investors, but the caveat is you don't have to have any pre-existing relationship. You can advertise it. That's our 110 unit deal. So how are we getting these properties to appreciate in value? You have natural versus forced appreciation. Natural appreciation happens organically throughout time. Year over year, natural appreciation by housing is 4.2% a year. And it tends to go along with inflation, and historically inflation is 3.8% a year. So your dollar today is generally worth 3.8% less next year. So don't let it sit in a bank account is the point of that. So what about forced appreciation? How are we getting these big refis on the properties in 18 months? Well, you saw some of the pictures, but you increase the rents. How do you do that? You update the fixtures, you do updating to the landscaping, you improve the buildings, like the big porch in the back. You decrease operating expenses. I cannot tell you how many mom and pop owners I've talked to over the last couple of years where they're paying all the expenses. They're paying the electric, they're paying the gas. You think your tenant is going to care about what the gas bill is in winter if you're paying it? They're gonna have the windows open, they're gonna have the heat on full blast. So you can implement RUBS, you can have charge back the system. So basically you charge back on the electric bill, or like we've done on some of the properties, we take them from gas, we convert them to electric, and then they're paying their heat through electric. Identify other income areas. Put in coin washer and dryers, vending machines, parking. We just looked at a big 45 unit student housing complex a month ago. They had a nice parking lot, they weren't charging for parking. There was more people that wanted the parking spaces than they had. It's economics 101, supply and demand. One of the things we were going to do, we got beat out, so we didn't actually get this property, but was to start charging on parking for that. Manage wisely. Get the proper systems in place to screen your tenants. If you're not screening your tenants, you're gonna get a chronic evictee, somebody who's just basically apartment hopping and gets evicted and they're just staying places for free. So get the processes in place to screen your tenants. And most importantly, value your tenants. You want to provide them safe, affordable housing. Don't ignore their phone calls. You want them to want to pay and live in your places. So no matter where you are in your journey, you want to build your team, whether this is somebody who wants to be an LP partner in a syndication deal, you want to make sure your sponsors are people who are finding solutions, not causing problems. If it's a contractor, you want people who are looking for ways to overachieve, not do the bare minimum, not showing up. You don't want to have to go to the contracting site every day, make sure they're there, put up cameras to make sure they're there. We've been through that multiple times. And for other people, if you're doing smaller JV deals, you want people who are going to push you and fulfill your needs, not people who you're going to have to push. So get on the right teams. So you're thinking, okay, this all sounds great. Where are we going to get some of this money? One thing, if you have an active 401, like I do at Geisinger, Michael and I actually did this with one of our initial properties, you can borrow against your 401k on essentially an interest-free loan. So if you have at least $100,000 in your active 401, you can take $50,000 out, pay it back to yourself. We did that, did a BRRRR, paid ourselves back, still on the property. HELOC, if you have a primary home, more than 80% equity, you can take out a HELOC on your property. Creative financing, our 110 unit in South Carolina, this is a seller finance deal, so sometimes you can get better terms, better leverage, balloon payments, so better cash flow until you can do that forced appreciation and get your money out. You can buy a primary home if you don't have a home yet. You don't have to have 20% down. You can get FHA loans for 3.5% down. You can live in that property for a year, then you can go buy another one, rent out your first property. We actually have our first one in Danville. We did that. We lived there, we still have that one, and we're renting it out. You can get an FHA loan on a duplex, triplex, or quad. It's called a house hack. You buy a property with not much down, you live in one side, have tenants pay the other side, you're essentially living there for free. They're paying off your mortgage, they're paying your expenses. Then you can live there for a year, go buy another one and do it again. So this is huge. The BRRRR book talks about that too. Invest with a self-directed IRA. If you have an old retirement account or you change jobs and you have just a 401 that's sitting there, you can roll it into a self-directed IRA. There's entire courses on this, but then basically you get an LLC, your retirement account buys a property, all that cash flow you're getting essentially tax-free for retirement. So I talked a lot, I'm gonna take a break. Michael can take over. He only has 5 slides, and then we have Robert, and then we can network again. So we're almost at the end here, guys, bear with us, but we'll let Michael talk. If you can't understand his accent, I'm sorry, but there you go.
Okay, I think we can give Lindsey a round of applause. Okay, so I'm gonna talk about tax benefits in real estate. One of my favorite quotes from Robert Kiyosaki is, most people fail to realize that in life it's not how much money you make, but it's how much money you keep. So I bet probably most of you, if not all of you, your biggest expenses are taxes. So when you work on the left side of the quadrant, the more you work, the bigger the tax bracket. Robert Kiyosaki explained that the tax code is made to reward people that invest in the economy, which is basically the people that are on the right side of the quadrant, the business owners, the investors, okay? So when you're on the left side of the quadrant, you make your income, your salary, you get taxed on it, and whatever is left, this is what you can spend. On the right side of the quadrant, your business make income, you try to expense as much as you can, and whatever is left is what you get taxed on. So it's a big difference between both sides, and this is what Robert Kiyosaki explains in most of his books. So if you operate rental properties, you can deduct the typical standard deduction, typically your operational and maintenance expenses, your mortgage interest, your home office expenses, your meals, travels. You have some pass-through deduction for your entity, for LLCs, for instance. So that's kind of standard for a business. That's one of the tax benefits you get. But I want to talk a little more about the depreciation now. Lindsey mentioned to you that you can get an asset, force appreciate the asset, and pull equity from it, and reinvest that money to buy the next property. That's called the velocity of money. That's one of the most powerful tools you have in real estate. Another one is the depreciation. So depreciation can be applied on equipment and on the property themselves. So I'm going to give you an example. For instance, for equipment, last year we bought a truck for business. We put $2,000 down, and we financed the truck, but we were able to depreciate the entire vehicle, the entire value of the vehicle in year 1, which reduced to our taxable income from our rental properties. So that's one way to use depreciation on equipment. Now I'm going to focus on the depreciation of buildings. So probably most of you know that, but rental properties can be depreciated over 27.5 years, at least for residential properties. Commercial, it's 39 years. That means that every year you can take 3.5% of the value of the building, what you pay for, minus the land portion. You can take that 3.5% off your rental income to reduce again what you're going to be taxed on. So that's what is called the standard depreciation. Now, the tax code also explain or detail that in a property there are different elements. There's the structure that is typically depreciated over 27.5 years, but elements like the floor coverings, your paint, the cabinets, the appliances, they can be depreciated much faster. Same with, for instance, your parking pavement. Everything that can be depreciated actually over under 20 years, according to the IRS code. Right now, there is what we call the bonus depreciation program, which allows you to take those parts of your building off in the first year. So basically, if I take the example of a $1 million property, let's say a multifamily building, you can expect to get between 20 to 30% of the depreciable value of the building as bonus depreciation in the first year. So for that building, you may have put 25% down, and in that first year, if you do a cost segregation study, you might be able to pull between $160,000 to $240,000 as bonus depreciation. And again, you can use that to offset your passive income from your rental activity, from stock dividends, or from any passive business income. Okay. Now there's an even more advanced technique. If you qualify as a real estate professional, you actually, if you have any depreciation bonus left after you offsetted all your passive income, you can actually also offset active income. So I'm the real estate professional, Lindsey has W2. You can actually take up to, for a married couple, I think it's up to $500,000 off W2 as the taxable basis, okay?
Which is huge. I mean, I know there's other physicians, not at my work, but that are in real estate investment groups. They essentially pay no tax on their physician salary. It's huge.
So whatever is your tax bracket from your W2 income, if you have a W2 income, you technically can shave off part of your base for the taxes. So again, that's one of the great tools in real estate for you to not pay the tax in first year. You're actually deferring the tax, but you can use that money in the first year to reinvest in another property. And that's the velocity of money. So the key takeaway here is that bonus depreciation program is currently phasing out. This year is the last year where you can claim 100% of those elements that depreciate below 20 years. Again, it's not a tax deduction per se. You're deferring the tax to when you sell. You're pushing the tax down the road to when you're selling the property. Okay, so it's at the sale of the property, there's a depreciation recapture where you're supposed to pay capital gain. But there's another tool that you can use. It's called a 1031 exchange. So you can actually exchange the property that you have for another under certain terms, and you can again defer the capital gain to the next property, and you can do that infinitely pretty much until you die. So again, you have to see it as an interest-free loan. $1 today worth more than $1 tomorrow. So by using that technique, you free up cash in year one that you can reinvest in the next property or in your next investment, and you're pushing the tax burden down the road. Obviously, this is fairly technical and complex, and cost segregation you can't do that by yourself. You have to use a CPA firm to do it. But again, that's a great tool for real estate investors to accelerate your wealth and acquire more properties quicker. This is it for me.
I know we covered a lot. I could literally pick any single one of those topics, deep dive for an entire meetup. So this was just, I know there's a lot of variation in the room here tonight, but just a couple of quick topics on everything and really our journey here. So we'll have Robert speak, and then we still have the room for some more drinks and food and networking. So I appreciate Robert coming. He came from out of state here to come. He's one of our partners. He's a phenomenal guy. He's been doing this for years and years and years. He's a wealth of knowledge. If you haven't talked to him yet, you really should. So thank you very much.
Thanks, I appreciate it. Yeah, I'll just keep it light and loose. It's really great to be here. I'm blessed to have met Lindsey and Michael in our MIH Real Estate Mastermind group recently. I'll get to that real quick, but again, I'll keep it light and loose. But although I live in New Jersey with my wife and 2 kids, This area is very near and dear to my heart. I graduated from the University of Scranton 26 years ago. So I spent a lot of time in this area. And ever since that point, I started investing in real estate literally the year after I graduated from college. So when I was 21 years old, going to Catholic school, growing up my whole life, going to the University of Scranton, a great Jesuit school, my father taught me the 11th commandment growing up, which is thou shalt not rent. So at a very young age, I tried to learn to make my money work for me rather than work for my money. And even though I had an incredible education, incredible love and support from my family members, I knew at one point I would become an entrepreneur. My entire family are immigrants from Sicily in Italy, and they came here with very little and made a lot because of the power of real estate. So my grandfather used to tell me, make your money work for you, not work for your money. And he used to say it with that accent. And all this stuff resonates now at this point in my life. And I do it for my family. At the end of the day, if I work with anybody in this room, it's about relationships first. And you know, it's not about the money, it's not about the deals at first, it's about the relationship. Let's grow trust, let's grow synergy, let's help one another out, let's help our families out. And that's really what it's all about. So at this point in my career, after 20 years in corporate America as a senior executive in the hotel and hospitality space, I was always investing in real estate every year. So if any of you are still in the W-2 world right now, keep investing. Keep building up a safety net. I wasn't in the mentality where I have to have enough cash flow to outpace my salary. I was just trying to get some stability under my belt while I was in corporate America. So every year I would invest in a 2-unit, a 5-unit, a 10-unit. I would find assets in the tri-state area to invest in so I'd get that safety net going. So I've been investing in real estate for 20 years, and today I've completed over 70 transactions. I have over 1,100 units in 7 states. I am a GP, I am a KP, and I'm an LP. I love that diversification. So I lead deals, I sponsor deals, but I'm also just a limited partner. So I have active and passive roles. And anybody can start. There is no blueprint on how you can start. It's just about starting somewhere. So whether you just want to invest your money passively as an LP, or whether you want to get actively involved as a GP, there's a way to start today. And I can speak to all of you about that at any point in time, now or into the future. But with that being said, I trademarked a phrase recently, the real estate legacy lifestyle. And I'll be starting a platform with that, as well as a podcast. And it's really using real estate as the bridge to your destination. Now, what's your destination? I love to invest. I love to travel. I love to cook. And so my logo is basically investing wisely, traveling often, and exploring your culinary palette. But if you like to sit home and knit sweaters, or if you like to, if your hobby is gardening, whatever it is, that's the bridge. Real estate is the platform. The bridge takes you to your destination through real estate. And I think there's so many wonderful opportunities. I get to spend time with my children now. I was traveling around the world. I was traveling around the country. I never could have spent this much time. I had kids very late in life. I have a 3-year-old and a 12-year-old now, and I'm almost 50 years old. You never know what's in store, right? So I'm enjoying my family, and I want to pass this along to my children one day as well. With that being said, I just want to talk a little bit about the MIH family. I've been in this MIH real estate family for 2 years now. I've met wonderful people like Joe, Michael, Lindsey, and many, many others. And Skyla and Billy. Tonight I finally got to meet them. We truly are a family. It's become an incestuous, very powerful group of people where everyone's looking out for each other sincerely. We're all trying to help us create wealth, find the next deal, be a resource, or whatever the case may be. And as a result, Michael, Lindsey, myself, and Joe recently hooked up on a wonderful deal that we have in Low Country, South Carolina right now. 110 units, 3 different assets, in 2 great locations outside of Charleston, South Carolina, as well as Myrtle Beach, South Carolina. We are actively raising for this deal right now. For anyone who's invested in this room, thank you very much. We're still actively raising. We'd love to talk to you about the deal and how you become a limited partner. And we have other deals in the pipeline as well. We'll be investing in South Carolina, North Carolina, Pennsylvania, and other states as well. And originally, in the beginning, Lindsey mentioned who, not how, when she prefaced the meeting. I'm a big advocate of who, not how. There's a book out there too, 1 million books are put in front of you today. Here, add another one to your list. This one is Who, Not How by Dan Sullivan. I live by this philosophy. I used to ask myself all the time when I was much younger, how can I get this done? When can I get this done? But it's really about who can help me get this done. Well, we can help you. If whether you're a novice, whether you're very experienced, we can help you. You have to find the yous. Stop worrying about how or when. You have to find who. Who is going to help you get to the bridge to your destination? And we can do that for you with a lot of the, with a lot of the techniques, a lot of the strategy, a lot of the game plans we have in place. So with that being said, I didn't want to take up too much time. I appreciate having a little bit of time up here. I didn't want to get too heavy duty. Lindsey did a phenomenal job. I just wanted to introduce myself to everybody and keep the conversation going after the fact. But I'm really appreciative to be here, and I look forward to speaking with you guys for the rest of the evening.
Thank you.
So thank you very much.
So that's really the end of it. I invite you guys to grab one of our business cards. Our website is Clover Key Capital. If you are interested at any point investing with us in the future, there's a registration form that we can send you deals in the future. If there's any pressing questions, you can definitely ask me now. If not, we can keep networking. Come up to me. Anybody questions right now? Okay, good.
I think we all want to drink.
That's right. Now I can, since I'm done talking. So thank you guys very much for coming. I'm hoping that this will be a quarterly thing. Our next one, we're planning on having it about 2 weeks before Christmas here, same room, same place in December. So we'll send out more information about that. So thank you guys all for coming. Seriously, I really, really appreciate this. It's a nice turnout for our first one. So thank you.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it coming. Now Bo has to work all night.
Yeah.
Yeah, we can. Thanks.